This is your First Alert Weather Breakdown, a deep dive into how weather works, with meteorologist Jake Lambright.
Well, good morning, and thank you for joining me for the First Alert Weather Breakdown. I'm meteorologist Jake Lambright. We've got a lot to talk about today, so let's go ahead and dive right into today's topics. First off, of course, we've got the chance for some weekend rain, maybe some showers and storms across the ArkLaTex. Then I want to dive into our extended outlooks. We're in February. Temperatures are in the 60s, 70s, even hitting the 80-degree mark some days. What do the next couple of weeks look like when it comes to precipitation amounts and temperature? We're going to dive into that. Also, we've got a full lunar eclipse coming up in a couple of weeks. We'll talk more about when that is, when you need to expect it, of course, and why the moon appears red during a lunar eclipse. All right, so let's go ahead and dive right in. Let me fix my box real quick to show my weather graphics, and we will go ahead and dive right in with those weekend rain chances. I know we've got parades going on this weekend, a lot that could be impacted by this rain chance on Saturday and Valentine's Day too. So let's go ahead, dive right in. Our next weather maker, the severe weather chance with this still looking to be pretty low at this time. I am expecting widespread rain and storms though, and some heavy rain will be likely at times. The good news is we really need this rain as we have been in a drought for quite some time. We'll actually take a look at that drought monitor here in just a second. But again, severe threats staying on the lower side, not zero, but I think the best chance for some strong to severe storms will stay just to our south. All right, let's talk some preliminary timing with this rain. You'll see as we head into Saturday morning, this is about 9 a.m. or so. You'll notice some of that rain there starting to move into the ArkLaTex. This is a low resolution model, so it's going to show a whole bunch of rain spread throughout the ArkLaTex. In reality, this is not what this will look like. This will actually be a little bit less rain than what you're seeing on the screen. We'll see that line kind of push through during the afternoon and evening hours, and thankfully this does not, even from a rain perspective, doesn't look like it will linger much into the overnight hours. Then we are trending much drier as we head into your Sunday. Whenever it comes to rainfall potential, let me actually make this full screen for you here real quick. Rainfall potential looking at anywhere from 1 to maybe 3 inches of rain depending on where you are across the ArkLaTex. Again, that's the next 7 days, but this is really Saturday's rainfall potential that we're talking about with these rain chances. All right, let's talk about storm energy on Saturday, because this is actually one of the things that we're lacking with this setup. We'll go into the day on Saturday afternoon. You'll see just not a lot of storm energy. Those kind of teal colors, light green, indicate that we don't have a ton of, again, storm energy, storm fuel to work with. Even by the time we get to Saturday evening, you'll see most of that's located along and south of I-20. Again, just not looking all that great. Now, we will have some wind shear around, but again, this setup just not looking super favorable for a large-scale severe weather event for us in the ArkLaTex. All right, let's talk about those drought conditions, because as I mentioned, we really need this rain that we're getting. We're going to be getting a good amount that will go towards helping us with those drought conditions. Let me pull up our latest drought monitor here real quick for the ArkLaTex. You'll see out toward Mount Pleasant, toward Red River County, McCurtain County, and Oklahoma, we're actually dealing with extreme drought conditions. That is a level 3 out of 4 on the drought monitor scale. A lot of severe level drought, that kind of darker orange there, that's a level 2 out of 4 on the scale. And then the rest of the ArkLaTex is shaded in tan. That indicates a moderate drought, or moderate drought risk, I should say. That is a level 1 out of 5, or 1 out of 4 on the drought monitor scale. So again, that 1 to 3 inches of rain will certainly help. Probably won't be drought busting rain, but again, every little bit of rain that we can see will certainly help with this weekend weather maker. All right, let's talk rain chances beyond Saturday. They're not looking too good. Saturday's our best chance of rain. From there, rain chances really taper off, and temperatures will be warming up as well. We'll take a look here at the next 7 days for high temperatures here in just a moment, and I will say this. I'm not expecting any kind of a frost or freeze as we go through the next 7 to 10 days. Here's our high temperatures. You'll notice we do cool down a little bit as that weather maker moves through Saturday. We're a little cooler for Sunday. Highs there closer to average in the mid-60s. By Monday, we're in the low 70s. Wednesday, highs back into the 80s. So that brief cool down does not stick with us here for very long before temperatures are back into the 80s. All right, let's look a little bit beyond the scope of that 10-day or 7-day forecast. This is kind of in that 6 to 10-day range, and you'll notice a lot of red there in the map. In fact, some deep reds there across the ArkLaTex. What does this mean? Well, it means that there's a very high likelihood that we see above average temperatures. But what this map does not mean. That darker red doesn't mean we're going to hit 90 degrees, and if you're in lighter red, you hit 85. That's not what this map shows. The darker the color, the higher percentage that it is that we're above average, whether that's by 1 degree, 10 degrees, 20 degrees. It just means that there's a very high confidence that we will be above average for temperatures. And when I show you the precipitation outlooks in just a moment, it means the same thing when it comes to our amount of rainfall. So again, that February 16th to 20th time frame, looking very high as far as confidence goes for above average temperatures. All right, let's look at precipitation during that same time period. What does all of that kind of orange mean with the precipitation outlook? Unfortunately, it means there's a high confidence that we are not going to see much rain during that February 16th to 20th time window. All right, let's expand it out a little bit further, 18th through the 24th. And this is kind of when we're looking at signals. So again, we could sneak in maybe a below average day in here, but when we look at that 8 to 14 day window overall, likely going to be above average. You'll see there very, very similar. Above average temperatures expected through that same time frame as we start to close out the month of February. Precipitation looking a little bit better. It's kind of a coin toss, though. That's what that gray means. A coin toss between maybe we see a little bit more rain than usual during that time frame or a little bit less, but should be hovering a little bit closer to normal, especially compared to that 6 to 10 day time window that I showed you here just a moment ago. Now, whenever it comes to, we'll go a little bit further out than that. We're going to go about 3 to 4 weeks out now. Signals there kind of hinting at above average temperatures for us once again through the end of February, heading into the start of March. And when it comes to precipitation, it's a coin toss. We really want to see an above average amount of rain because, again, we're really lacking on rainfall at this point, but it is a coin toss there, February 24th through March 6th. Now for the seasonal outlook. January through March, I know we're already a good bit through January, but through the end of March, still looking at above average temperatures being what we see for the most part, and then seeing likely slightly below average amounts of precipitation during that time frame, or some drier conditions. We've already seen that, of course, since January across much of the ArkLaTex, and of course we're going to be no stranger to that as we head through the next couple of days. Now we get to talk about one of the more exciting things I'm looking forward to in a couple of weeks, and that is our next total lunar eclipse. Now, this is going to be in March. We'll talk a little bit more about that specific time frame here and the times you need to be on the lookout for in March for this total lunar eclipse. Before we get to that, I do want to show you here what the total lunar eclipse path looks like. I'll make that full screen for you. So you'll notice there, as the partial eclipse begins, the moon moves into Earth's partial shadow, or the penumbra. And from there, the Earth's shadow, once the moon moves into the Earth's shadow fully, or the umbra, that's when the total eclipse begins. Now, once it gets right in the center of Earth's shadow, that's when we hit maximum eclipse. And then once that moon gets to the edge of Earth's shadow, or the umbra, that's when the total eclipse ends. So you'll start to see the Earth, or the moon, I should say, move back into the penumbra, or Earth's partial shadow. And then once it moves out of there, the partial eclipse ends. All right, so whenever it comes to the red color in the blood moon, here's why we see that. So even in the Earth's shadow, enough sunlight passes through the atmosphere to illuminate the moon. We see that every night. Of course, when we see a full moon, the moon is pretty bright, thanks to the sunlight that reflects off of the moon. Now, in our atmosphere, it filters out all colors except for red and orange, which is why during a full lunar eclipse, the moon isn't white like it typically is. All right, let's talk a little bit more about the specific timing for this lunar eclipse. This is going to be on Tuesday, March 3rd, and this will be in the morning. Thankfully, not in the middle of the night, but for me at least, I'm going to have to wake up a little bit earlier to see this lunar eclipse, as it will be pretty early on in the morning. So the partial eclipse begins around 3:50 a.m., so a little bit before 4 o'clock. And again, that's when we start to see the moon move into the Earth's umbra. Not fully, but you'll see a little bit of red there on parts of the moon. Now, the maximum eclipse will be at 5:04 a.m. on Tuesday, March 3rd. So again, a little bit early for most, but I know some people are starting to get up, get ready for work or school. You can head out there about 5 a.m., take a look at that moon. And again, as long as we don't have cloud cover or rain, this will be fully visible in the ArkLaTex. Of course, it's a little too early to talk about whether or not we see cloud cover and some of those factors. But again, as long as we've got clear skies, we will be able to see this. 5:04 a.m. is whenever we'll see the maximum eclipse, and then the partial lunar eclipse will end around 7:17 in the morning. So I'm actually going to back this up here for just a second, make that full screen for you. There is something else I want to take a look at and go into some more specifics. But again, there is the timing for the that should say total lunar eclipse. I do apologize. But again, total lunar eclipse we've got going on. That will be Tuesday, March 3rd. And again, early on in the morning, but as long as we don't have cloud cover, we will be good to see this on March 3rd. All right, so let me get into some more specifics for you here and go a little bit further than what this graph shows because I could only put in 3 time slots for you. But the penumbral eclipse that I was talking about a moment ago, and I'll actually pull those that full path back up so you can see it a little bit better on your screen. So the penumbral eclipse will begin for us around 2:45 a.m. Central Time. Again, that's going to be Tuesday, March 3rd, so a few weeks out. The partial eclipse, as I noted before, begins around 3:50 in the morning Central Time. Totality begins at 5:04 a.m. Totality ends. You will see totality there for about an hour, or where you'll see the total eclipse begins all the way to where total eclipse ends on that graphic. That's what I'm referring to in totality. So totality begins 5:04 a.m. Central Time, ends 6:03 a.m. Central Time. So we've got a good hour there right before sunrise. We've got totality. Timing for the ArkLaTex going to be perfect. Then the partial eclipse ends at 7:17 a.m. Central Time, and the penumbral eclipse ends around 8:23 a.m., which of course the sun's going to be out by then, so it will not make a big difference for us. The good news is, like I said, that best window, we've got the best window for totality in the ArkLaTex. We'll be able to see it. It's going to be a little earlier in the morning, but not 2 a.m. early, so it should be quite the sight to see as you start your day. Again, this is in a couple weeks on Tuesday, the morning of Tuesday, March 3rd. Double check something here real quick. On my end, yes, the morning of Tuesday, March 3rd. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap up things here pretty shortly. I do want to run through that rain timeline, though, for you one more time. This is going to be the big impact over the next 7 days, so I do want to remind you, we've got Valentine's Day, we've got parades. A quick check of that timeline. Again, this is a low-resolution model, so it's not going to do the best job of pinpointing who sees rain and when, but we'll go through Saturday morning. Rain starts. I really think our best window for rain in the ArkLaTex is going to be the afternoon hour Saturday into the early evening. Like I said, I know that that could cause some disruptions for parades that we've got going on, Mardi Gras parades, and also Valentine's Day. Rain, though, does move out by the time we get to Saturday night. I really think by 10, 11, we will see that rain wrap up very quickly, and then from there, we're going to be dry for your Sunday, and rain chances are going to be very, very minimal from here on out. I don't think our high resolution, or our first high resolution model, is going to have any data in yet for Saturday, but we'll go ahead and take a look and just kind of see. So yeah, it looks like it cuts off about Saturday morning, 6 a.m., and not really dealing with any more than some isolated rain by then. So we're going to be keeping tabs on that very closely. Of course, we will continue to give you the first alert to the latest on our online platforms, as well as social media and on the air. I'll have a forecast update for you in about an hour coming up at noon. You can also watch that update and the First Alert Weather Breakdown podcast every day on our KSLA website, ksla.com, and on our apps that you can download for your Roku, Fire, and Apple TV. No need for a subscription, no need to make an account or anything of that nature. You just download the app, and all of that content is there for you live and on demand. All right, I'm going to go ahead and hop off, get ready for our noon show. Thank you so much for joining me today, and of course, I will see you right back here on our online platforms coming up at noon with your forecast.